Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Google Developers Live for Google Drive. And today we are joined by our special guest, Gus Class from the Google Plus team.
Thanks for having me here.
Today we're going to talk about how to use the Google Plus sign-in button with Google Drive. And Gus, for those who aren't familiar with what you've been doing on Google Plus, maybe give a little bit of background as to what the Plus login button does and why people should be using it.
Absolutely. So we introduced the Plus login button, so the sign in with Google Plus button in February. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to very easily authorize a JavaScript client as well as a server-side client. And when you do this, you get a lot of benefits. The most notable ones are over-the-air installs for Android, and but you also get the capability to do things with Google Plus, and to get information about your users. So when you do this, you can do things like get a list of the people who your user has made available to your app, and when you do this, you have information about those connections between people. And once you have those connections between people, you can allow them to engage with each other within your apps and services. And this creates a better experience for the user, and it also can drive up engagement on your site and can allow you to have certain things like viral growth.
Yeah, so I've seen two applications so far that use the Google Plus login in conjunction with Drive. One of them we reviewed a few weeks ago. It's Magisto. They have a really great integration where you go to the website and you can sign in with Plus. During the login, it asks for permission to Drive and does the over-the-air install of the mobile app, which Carrie reviewed a few weeks ago, and it was a really awesome experience. There's another one which Carrie's going to review later today, Jolie Cloud, which also has some really interesting integration with Plus and Drive as well.
Yeah, Jolie Cloud we actually talked a little bit about in our I/O presentation, where we showed off a couple of the great things that Jolie Cloud is doing when they're using the Google Plus.
Yeah, and we'll see a little bit of that as Carrie does the demos.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that comes up with the integration with Plus and Drive is how the two sharing models relate. And today they are separate models. But what are your thoughts on when people should do things like sharing via Drive for certain types of content versus doing things like interactive posts and sharing with a broader community on Plus?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the notion of sort of private sharing versus public sharing, and the other things about sharing, such as active sharing versus passive sharing, come into play. So for Google Plus, we have two types of sharing that are relevant for developers, and the first type is going to be passive sharing, and so these are things that your app is going to write to Google, and Google has begun to use these we refer to them as app activities.
Right.
We use these app activities to give better relevance to the content that your site is creating and the type of content that is that users are creating with your site. And so that sharing model is kind of very independent of the kinds of things that you would do inside of Drive. And then the other type of sharing is active sharing. So with active sharing, this is done using the share dialog and interactive posts. So when you do these active shares, you can do things like you can pre-populate a form with users from that user's circles, and then those users would receive notifications across Google. And when you do this, you create really engaging shares, and then that user can be brought into your content directly from the Google Plus stream. So with Drive, there's the shares that you perform on Drive, and these are making things available to users. When you share actively on Google Plus using an interactive post, Google Plus has a proxy that needs to be able to access that content. So within Google Drive, this is sort of restricted just to those public shares. I believe you said something about there's sort of a tier for sharing. So there's the things that you create that are just for you, and then there's the things that you create that are at a much more refined point.
Yeah, and I think when we were talking about this the other day, one of the examples that we came up with is something like maybe a scrapbooking application, right? Where I may want to keep my raw materials, my photos, my clip art in Drive, maybe invite some family members to work on that in a very limited context. But then when I want to start, expanding out to my broader family and friends, then doing, a public share or a limited share on Google Plus, make it interactive. You can have a very engaging experience with the finished content.
Yeah. So for in that scrapbook examples, there's kind of that. I'm creating sort of a raw materials that are for my scrapbook, and then now I'm looking for collaborators. And so then using an interactive post, you can draw on those collaborators, and then at the end of the day, you can use those files to share directly from Google Drive into Google+.
Right.
So.
And you could always use the Drive API to expand the ACLs for a particular file to match your sharing via Google+ as well. So are there any particular tips or advice for using it? I actually tried to do this myself. It actually was really easy to use the Google Plus login. I had actually modified our quick start for iOS, and there are a few technical issues that run into trying to combine the two, but they're pretty easy to work around, and we'll share some of those details on the community or maybe a blog post. But other than that, are there specific best practices?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of best practices, and we're going to try to get sort of deep into those inside of a GDL series that we're working on right now. But at a high level, the big things that you can do right now are going to be when you use the sign-in scope, take advantage of that user's data. So reflect the user's profile back to them, show them their picture, and let them know that their friends are there, and that you're going to use their social data to make a better experience for them, and kind of connect users within your site using those people that the users made available to you. And I mean, most importantly, just don't surprise the user. Give them an experience so that they know how you're using their data, and make sure that you follow the requirements that we have for Google Plus sign-in integrations. So.
That's great information. And actually, Carrie's going to show some of this in practice with a demonstration of Jolie Cloud in our App of the Week.
App of the Week.
Hi everybody, I'm Carrie, and I'm really excited to demo Jolie Cloud for you guys today. This is a great integration between Google Plus and Drive, so let's see how it works. So right here you can see I can sign in with Google+. And what's really great, the next window, it allows me to add in any other products that I want. And so Jolie Cloud is an online content management system in the cloud. So everybody has YouTube videos they like, their Google+ account, Facebook, Drive, Picasa. You have all these different places on the internet where you have content, and Jolie Cloud allows you to access everything in one place. And better yet, it allows you to give permission all in one place. So I want to add Google Drive into my Jolie Cloud, and then when I click Sign In with Google, you'll see in the next page, it's prompting me for permission to access everything in Google Drive. So I'm going to accept this. And
yeah, actually, I'll jump in here and say that
sure.
The really interesting thing that Jolie Cloud is doing here is they're kind of dynamically creating the scopes that they're adding to the sign-in button before they render it. And when they do this, it doesn't surprise the user, because the user says, oh, I said that I want to give Jolie Cloud access to my Google Drive. And so when they do this, it creates a great experience for the user, and it also will draw more users to actually click all the way through and sign up and sign in with Google+, which is really the ultimate goal that you have when performing these sign-in integrations.
Yeah, thanks. So it's a really, really great example of how you can use Google Drive and Google Plus together. And so you see now that I've given permission, I've signed into Jolie Cloud. When right here on my browser, I can see that Google Drive and Google Plus are both loaded already. And let's see, my Google Plus page, you can see I'm a huge fan of animals, especially baby animals. And then all of my Drive stuff, the folders are right here, ready for me, waiting, and I can use all of my documents. So this is a really great integration. Definitely check it out if you have a lot of online content, like most people do. And we'd love to see what everybody is building. And thanks for sharing the extra insight. So that's it for our GDL today. I wanted to thank Gus for coming on. If you're interested in learning more about Google+, they do their GDLs today as well. They'll be on air today at 2:30 talking about what's new with Hangouts. So definitely check that out. And next week, we'll be back with our Drive GDL to talk about DocuSign. They're one of our largest partners. We're really excited to host them, so definitely come back next week and check that out. So thanks, guys, very much, and we'll see everybody next week.